I'm Pat Baer, and this is Pat Baer's Anime Club, your ongoing video series about anime. That's right, it's just my excuse to talk about something that I want to chat with you about every other Monday. It could be a deep dive into a subgenre or a particular series. It could be a review of the current season or a preview of the next season. You know, whatever I really want to talk about. Last time I talked about manga. I'll do another one of those soon, I'm sure. This video right here. You probably saw the title, but I'll tell you what the title is anyway. It's the joy of being anime only. That's right. There's something magical about just watching the anime and not any of the source material. Not reading the manga or the light novel or playing the visual novel or the video game. Just going in with a little bit of hype and maybe watching the trailer ahead of time, but just enjoying the anime for what it is. And this is, in fact, ignorance is bliss. That's what we're talking about here. Now, to be clear, I am not talking about anime that is better than the manga. We're not getting into that kind of argument. I'm going to talk about how, like, oh, the pacing is so much better. And, oh, yeah, well, you know, it's not lazy. They don't, you know, like some of the manga, the weekly manga is. No, I'm not here to talk about that. There are a lot of reasons why some people don't like manga and they just want to watch anime, and I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about, in a few instances, how not knowing something is great. And we're going to approach this again from a couple different ways. There is sometimes the source material doesn't particularly end that well, but the anime sticks the landing because they know better. They know to go a different route. Or perhaps it's just the medium, the presentation of it. Just like, okay, well, it's good, but once you add in some other elements, suddenly it becomes a phenomenal product. It could also be that maybe it's just that the style of that particular medium of the source material just wouldn't have translated if they just, you know, made a bunch of it exactly the same, but because they've made some changes, suddenly it becomes a whole other phenomenon. Or maybe the source material is awesome, but you don't know that because you're only watching the anime, and the anime is good enough that it kind of doesn't matter. And that's where we're at with some of these. I'm going to talk about a few examples again, and I must make this clear. I am not saying don't read these manga, because these are all sourced from manga. But I am saying that the anime isn't shabby at all. So we'll go through some examples here. I think you'll pick up what I'm putting down about the joy of being anime only. Usagi Drop. You may already know what I'm about to say here because this is a famous example of a manga where people just watch the anime. It's a lovely story about found family and trying to make things work and coming out of sadness on the other side and making life feel like it's worth living. It's gorgeous and beautiful. And the manga has a bad ending. It's got a really bad ending. I remember people describing it as divisive. If you like that, but if you like this, ugh. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm sure there are people out there who are apologists that think the manga ending was fantastic. The anime doesn't have the manga ending. So you can just watch this anime and feel good and not feel creeped out like you would if you had finished the manga. Just saying. So, like I said, joy of being anime only. Not only would you not know about the bad manga ending, but you wouldn't experience it because you're just watching the anime and having a good time and having a little bit of a cry here and there, but ultimately leaving fulfilled with a great series. Usagi Drop. It's good. You should watch it. But also, you don't have to read it. K-On! Now, this is an example of taking the medium. K-On! A great manga series. You can't go wrong. But when you get to hear the music, when the characters get fleshed out a little bit and it goes a little bit beyond the trappings of the manga that it was in, suddenly you've got like such a more expressive show. The characters feel so much more alive, and hearing them play music and get better, you know, like I would say in general, a manga about music I'd probably say, hey, if you don't know about the manga and you just watched the anime, like, you did it. You nailed it because you want to hear those tunes. And again, you could read the manga. And if you don't know that the manga is different from the anime, it's not, it's never going to hurt you. It might actually, I would say this. If you are manga only for Bocchi the Rock, then maybe you would come into the anime and you would be kind of pissed off that you had read the manga. Maybe. I am not saying that one's better than the other. I'm saying they're different. Bocchi the Rock, the anime, allows the main character, her anxiety gets manifested in a way you don't see in the manga. They took the source material and they were like, well, how do we make this an anime? What do we do to make this an anime? And then, so there's stuff in there that's not in the manga. And the manga is, a little lighter, and sometimes you lose stuff in the translation, but occasionally, like in this case, you gain things. And I would say this is an example where if you are manga only, you should definitely watch this anime because it adds so much. Not just the music, like I said with K-On!, but just in general. It adds so much to the presentation that it's basically two different series. And if you didn't read the manga, you wouldn't be like, I would say you could just watch Bocchi the Rock and finish it up and go, yeah, that was real good. I have no complaints. I have no need to go read that manga. Maybe completionists would want to finish both. I do know plenty of people out there that watch the anime and go, oh, this is really good. I'm going to check out the manga. I've done that because you want to know what happens next, like you're like, oh, well, there's going to be another season, or maybe there won't ever be another season, and you want to know what's going on. I'm doing that right now with Windbreaker because I really liked Windbreaker, the anime, and I was like, I kind of want to read the manga for it. The manga's good, so I didn't mess up. But Bocchi the Rock, the two versions are just very different. And I think it's okay to just watch the anime in that case. There's sometimes where I would say, oh, you kind of want to know what's going on, and there's stuff that gets missing and changed and left out, or like, I am someone that says, hey, ReZero, the light novels are really good, and there's so much that gets taken out of the light novels because you have to do that for an anime adaptation. But it's like, probably want to read the light novels because there's a lot you're missing out on. I don't feel that way with Bocchi the Rock. Okay, and this last one about why I think there's a joy to be found in being anime only is an important one. Is an important step, and it's kind of the real point of this video. Which is mostly just kind of a rant. It's a little bit of essay, a little bit of a rant. And it has to do with Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto Days, which at the time of this recording of this video is in the midst of its first season, has been getting a lot of heat on message boards and, posts on Anime News Network and various things like that. People putting out their tweets, their opinions on it. And in general, it's being pretty well received by people who are watching the anime, many of whom are anime only. But because it is a cult hit, because it has a dedicated fan base for the manga, there are some manga folks out there that are disappointed with the anime adaptation because it's missing some elements that really make the manga shine. And in fact, in my opinion, are the reason why it's a great manga, but wouldn't have translated well to anime. And the important thing is it's missing, but is not missed. If you are anime only, you are not missing this dramatic change of art that is really nice to see in the manga. You don't need that in the anime. You don't need to see it because you have fluidity of motion because it's animated. So even though it's not there, it's not a missing ingredient. Not better or worse, it's just different. It's a different medium. Anime and manga are different, damn it. So what exactly am I talking about? Well, okay, so a lot of the art is for just walking around. Sakamoto Taro, our guy who was the world's best assassin and is now retired and a shop owner, and he's gotten fat and he's just hanging out. But sometimes he's get called back. People keep trying to kill him or pull him back into the underworld. And so there's fight scenes between him and various people that want to kill him or capture him or help him. Various things, right? So you get the silliness of day-to-day life juxtaposed with this like heavy on the black, heavy on the lines, heavy on the effects, reactions of art. I am not good at describing this, but I think you can see it in the manga, this change, this like seriousness, as if this was out of a different manga. Like the two juxtapositions of like the jokiness and the silliness, and then the, oh man, okay, someone's going to die here over and over again. Those juxtapositions are part of the reason why the manga works, because it is that thing of like, you know, like those little moments where Vash, the Stampede becomes, and Traged becomes very serious and has to like do the hard work. But then it's also just a goofy character. Or, you know, various 90s anime where that is the thing. This is a little bit like that, where sometimes, yeah, it's pretty casual and then it has this juxtaposition to this art. And that's not in the anime. The anime is just like, sometimes he becomes thin, and that's also in the manga, but that's just like the most transformation you're going to get, because it doesn't need it, because music and the animation and the fight choreography are just going to make that happen, and it would be really jarring, possibly. Maybe they even tested it out. Maybe it wasn't a cost-cutting measure or a lack of ability in the studio or anything like that. Maybe it was just that they didn't think that it was necessary to drastically change, to like have like chibi characters suddenly become badass, like over the top fight scenes or whatever. And they were like, no, we can just do that with choreography and with expression and music and voice acting and all the other things that anime have going for them. And it doesn't need to be visually stunning like this and this huge change. And again, if you're anime only, you don't know about this. You don't know what you're missing, because it's missing, but it doesn't ruin the dish if you don't have that ingredient, is what I'm trying to say. And I know I've been talking here for 12 minutes, and maybe this could have been a one sentence tweet, but I've been hearing this a bunch. A lot of people, as soon an anime, generally, unless it is an original piece, if an anime is based on something, it is there as a commercial for the thing that is out there. Anime is an anime based on a manga is to sell more copies of the manga, right? It's just, that's what it is. That's what it exists for. You know, and original content is often there because one of the major sponsors of that studio or of that project had a time slot. You know, like Evangelion is there because King Records had a time slot and a bunch of music and wanted to work with someone they wanted to work with. That's why Evangelion exists. You know, like that's all it is. It's art. It's an art form, but also it's a business. So maybe you watch Sakamoto Days and you go, I want to read that. And you go and you read it and you go, oh wow, there's this art style changes and there's this beautiful juxtaposition. That's awesome. It doesn't have to be in the anime, because the anime can be its own thing. And that's really my point about the joy of being anime only is sometimes you could right or wrong. Sometimes you can explore a medium in a different way, a unique way. Like, you know, I didn't include this in the list here, but Keep Your Hands Off Isaacin should have always been, it makes sense for it to be an anime because it's about anime. So everything kind of, the imagination jumps off the page and becomes this whole living, breathing thing. And it's like, yeah, that's the medium for it. Sometimes it is just the right medium for it. And then sometimes, like I said with Sakamoto Days, and I can rattle off a lot of other anime that's like that, it's just really good, and a lot of changes get made to make it better, and it doesn't matter that it's missing something because ignorance is bliss. It's really what it is. We didn't even talk about sometimes filler is good, sometimes pacing can change. We talked a little bit about that. When some people were like, "Oh, the anime's better because it's it cuts out all the fat of a story," and it's like, well, it depends on the story. But I'm just rambling at this point. This has been Pat Baer's Anime Club. I do this every other Monday. If you have an idea for a video you'd like to see me do, please feel free to put that in the comments. I don't quite know what I'm doing next. I know 2 videos from now is my winter wrap-up and spring preview. So I don't know what I'm doing in 2 weeks for the next video. So if you have an idea, I have some ideas. I just don't know if I'm going to do it. But if you have something you'd like to see, please let me know. And if you have an example of, oh, I later read the manga, or I missed out, or people would always say, I should have read the manga, but I just watched the anime, or hey, if you have an example of something where you're like, well, it's a butchering of the original story, and you should never watch the anime instead of this manga, let me know. I understand that too. But I hope maybe you have a little bit more of appreciation for the folks that just want to watch a thing, and they don't mind that it's a little different from the thing that you read. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.